a number of subparagraphs are not relevant to the one that's deleted, let him defend that argument.
Honourable member, I said what I had to say.
And
I rule in this chair, and you shall confine it to be.
Yes, yes.
Right. So,
well, I am going to
so
now
honourable member, for the sake of brevity, right? Please don't make any mention of C, D, and F. Please speak to me. But I rule in. I'm the person that controls in here.
Well, I will speak of 5.2b in this way.
Right. The only way. Yeah.
5.2b, which has been deleted by this government, was deleted because it permitted certain persons within the system to bypass the courts. I repeat that for the sake of the public, because I was hoping that the government understood that. Of course, they didn't understand that last week when they brought this legislation in here and were forced to change it further to our protests in the public domain and in here. They did not understand. They seem not to have understood that this legislation, and two in particular, two of them got up in here and said that the only way you could intercept somebody's phone was by going to the court. And 5.2b was there staring at them. Either they came here without having read the legislation, or they read it in English and could not understand it. That is what they said in here, and we protested, and they changed it. And today they have come here to withdraw, to delete 5.2b. Let me deal with 5.2b then, sir. 5.2b was deleted by this embarrassed government because it permitted phone tapping to be done without resort to the court. That is the sin. That is the mischief against which we complained. So I'll speak about 5.2b. And I will say to this Parliament and to the people of Barbados that in attempting to remove 5.2b as a way of solving the problem of bypassing the court, the problem still has not been solved. This is relevant. I say it again. In removing section 5.2b, which allowed for bypass of the court, the problem of bypassing the court still has not been solved because 5.2 contains other bypasses of the court. So the deletion of 5.2b does not solve the problem, and the public needs to know that. The public needs to know that there are still sections in this legislation which allow bypass of the court. In other words, which allows phone tapping to be done without resort to the court. They can name the sections if they wish. They can name the sections if they wish. They can go and pick up the paper that came from the Senate and talk about what was deleted. All this is relevant. I don't have to say which subsections were not deleted, but they deleted 5.2b because it allowed two functionaries to bypass the court. All I'm saying today, sir, is that it does not solve the problem. And I want the public to hear me. I want the public to hear me say that the problem has not been solved entirely, that there are still portions in this act which allow for phone tapping without the intervention of the court.
I remember.
They heard me?
I remember. I do not.
The public heard me?
I remember. I do not wish you to tread on repetitive examples.
Thank you.
Do not wish you to tread there.
Thank you. Just want to be heard.
You have said that 3 times already, I remember.
Yes, because I want to be heard.
And it has been heard.
Thank you very much, sir. I want all of them to hear it because two came in here on the 8th of what? August. 2 members of this chamber came in here and told their colleagues that the only way in which you could tap somebody's phone is if you went to the court. You want me to name them? The learned Attorney General and the Honorable Member for Christchurch East came in here and trumpeted aloud and abroad that phone tapping could not be done unless you went through the court. It was, look, don't tempt me into saying it was a lie, because they may not have known, and I should not accuse them of being liars, and I will not. What I can do, I can accuse them of coming to this chamber without having read the legislation. Without having read the legislation. and further to public protest that we made. In embarrassment, they embarrassed the whole government. They embarrassed the whole government when they came in here on the 8th of August and told this chamber and told this country, oh, the only way you can tap somebody's phone is through the court. Through what court what? You could have done it by two authorized persons, one the Commissioner of Police and the other one the Director for Anti-Terrorism. They were allowed to do it under this legislation. In embarrassment, they embarrassed the whole government. Two of them embarrassed the whole government. And because of our protests, because of our insistence that this legislation could only become valid, morally valid, was if the court was allowed the exclusive jurisdiction to oversee phone tapping. And that has always been our position. But the position of this government clearly was to insert clauses in the legislation which allowed other persons other than the court, to implement, to execute, and to supervise phone tapping. And that is what Section 52B did. And that is why today, in their embarrassment, they are withdrawing Section 52B. I say that Section 52B does not solve the problem entirely, because there's still other sections. Pardon me for shouting. Pardon me for getting angry. The public is angry too. You think people feel comfortable in this country that every time they pick up their phone and the precious medium of WhatsApp, somebody's listening to them, claiming that it is to suppress crime, when we in this country knows it is political? But pardon me, and pardon me, but I want the public to know that 52B, the deletion of 52B, the exclusion, the excision of 52B from this legislation still does not solve the problem. That under this act as amended, there's still a bypass of the court. I am finished with that. Let the public know. I don't have to repeat it 1,000 times.